Here, welcome back to another SwingU live episode. So happy you guys decided to join us tonight. Tonight we're talking about something that's so important, that's so overlooked by many golfers, and that's course management. How to think your way around the course, how to play to your strengths, play to your best abilities, play the game that's going to help you shoot the lowest score. That's what it's all about. We're here to play some golf, to shoot as low as we possibly can. We obviously try to have some fun along the way, but the lower we shoot, the more fun we're going to have. So how are we going to shoot the lowest scores? It just comes from basically thinking your way around the course and playing smart shots, okay? Not being stupid, not doing things to try to impress our, playing partners or worry about what they're gonna say if we pull an iron out of the bag on a par 4. If we don't go for maybe a drivable par 4, whatever it may be, it really comes down to thinking your way around the golf course and being smart. Okay, I really thought of this topic tonight because of my tournaments that I just played in. I played in a PGA section event the last 2 days. It was a 2-day event, individual stroke play event, okay? So obviously a lot of pressure there. You got to finish out your holes. And it was one of my first individual stroke play events, especially 2-day events this year. So really played a golf course that was shorter, okay? A lot of thick, high rough, really tight and narrow with trees. And so, I had to think my way around the golf course. I had to be smart. And what I did was in 2 days, guess how many drivers I hit off the tee? I hit 4 drivers total off the tee box in 2 days. And guess what? They had 2 par 5s on these golf courses. So really, I only had to use my driver 4 times because it wasn't smart for me, especially for me as a longer player, to hit drivers on these holes, okay? Because it was tight. If you hit it in the rough, it was very penalizing. So I had to swallow my pride on a lot of these holes and hit my 2-iron off the tee, which I hit pretty solid. I hit 250 yards off the tee. And it was smart for me, okay? I shot 71 the first day and I shot 73 the second day. 2 pretty respectable rounds, but I made sure I was very disciplined, okay? I wasn't, when I was on the range warming up, I wasn't hitting my driver great, okay? I wasn't hitting it too bad. So 4 times that I did hit it, I did find the fairway 4 times, okay? Which was very hard for me not to hit it more, but I knew it wasn't the play. I knew it wasn't smart, okay? So I was able to think my way around the golf course and play well by just taking the iron out of the bag, okay? And we're gonna talk about that a little bit tonight here. And obviously, I'm not telling you to go out to your golf course and hit the driver twice the entire day. It's really gonna depend on the type of player you are, okay? It's gonna depend on the golf course that you're at, your club selection off the tee. But when we're talking about course management, it's obviously gonna start at the tee box, okay? And then we're obviously gonna go from there. But the tee box is where the most crucial shots are. When we're playing tournament golf, okay, your tee shot and your putting are the 2 most crucial things, okay? Because the course that I played, Burlington Country Club, on Saturday and Sunday, had a lot of out of bounds, okay? So you're obviously, you're really penalizing yourself if you hit it out of bounds or lose your ball. There's a lot of hazard out there. So the tee shot was very, very important, okay? So let's talk about that tonight. And before I get started there, I really want to thank you guys for joining us again to SwingU Live. We're doing these every Tuesday night here in the summer, right around 8 o'clock. Tonight we did a little bit earlier, 7:45, but we're usually right around 8 o'clock. And we talk for 25, 30, 45 minutes, and we go in depth on everything golf. We talk about the golf swing. We talk about golf equipment. Tonight we're talking about course management. But we have covered so many different things over the last 13 to 14 weeks here, and we're really having a lot of fun with this. And we're really enjoying ourselves. So we're really thankful that you guys decided to join us. This is only for SwingU Premium subscribers. So if you're watching this, thanks so much for subscribing to Premium. We're doing everything we possibly can to help you guys play better golf and have a lot more fun out on the golf course. Okay, so we're talking about course management. Just being smart and thinking your way around the golf course can save you 3, 4, 5 strokes right there without having to improve your game, nothing. So we talked about this. Playing to your strengths and playing to your best abilities. Okay, so let's talk about this here for a second. We have a hole set up here on the simulator, and I think this is a really good hole to kind of talk about here. We're at Torrey Pines South Course here in the simulator. We have a par 4 that's 354 yards. Okay, so what are the biggest things that I hear as a golf instructor from people that struggle with their game? Number one, they struggle with hitting a driver. Okay, that's the biggest thing. Everyone really thinks they're hitting their driver because it's the longest club in the bag, and it's swinging it the fastest, you're hitting the furthest. So obviously, there's a lot more room for error there. So people aren't good at hitting their drivers for the most part. The second thing that I hear from people is I hate those mid-range shots, 50, 60, 70-yard shots. There's a lot of golfers out there that hate that shot. For me, I like that shot. The closer you are to the hole, the better off you should be. So if you are one of those golfers who does struggle with that shot, then I do encourage you to work on it more. But just take that out of, we're not really talking about improving the game tonight. We're really talking about just playing to our best strengths. So we have a hole here that's 354 yards long. If you're somebody who is not great at hitting your driver and you suck at 70-yard shots, but you hit a 280-yard drive here on a 354-yard hole, okay, if I hit a 380-yard drive, I'm going to have 74 yards left here. So why would I hit a driver, something that is for me, hit or miss? Just say if you're someone who's hitting 280-yard shots and you don't like 70-yard shots, why would you hit driver here? Why would you hit a driver, a club that gives you, that if you hit it perfectly, gives you 70 yards in to a hole when you hate 70-yard shots? Okay, another thing to talk about here. There's a bunker on the left side of the fairway here. What is that bunker? That bunker is 254 yards. So if you're someone who does hit a 270, 280-yard drive, your carry might be 254 yards. So driver might start bringing that bunker into account. Okay, so as a golfer here, why would I hit anything that's going to give me a number that I don't love? Let's talk about a number that we do like. Say you're somebody who likes to hit your pitching wedge 130 yards. Man, that's a good club for me. I love my pitching wedge. Okay, now let's hit a shot that gives you 130 yards in. We have a 254-yard hole. Why don't we hit a 220-yard shot here that's going to give us 130 yards in? Okay, so off the tee shot is so important, and that's what's great about the SwingU app. We can obviously look at the hole. We can determine how far it is. We can look at the entire layout of the hole. We can see, if there's any hazards, how wide it is, and as you guys know, you touch on the screen anywhere, and you can figure out how far to hit the shot. So the SwingU app is so important for that. You guys need to be looking at that at every hole. Looking at what club off the tee, number one, is that you're gonna hit, pretty consistently. Okay, it's gonna give you your best chance at success. And number two, it's gonna give you a good yardage into the green, a yardage that you feel comfortable with. Okay? So if I'm on this hole here, I have 254 yards, and for me, let's just say, hypothetically, I like to have 130 yards into the green. It gives me a good wedge. Well, I need to hit a club that's gonna be a 220-yard club. For me, that's a 5-iron. Now I stand here on this tee box and I got all my buddies with me, and they're all hitting their drivers, and they're all, making fun of me because I'm laying up. They're all laying up too. It's a 354-yard hole that I'm hitting 5-iron. Okay, they might be giving me some crap. They might be egging me on to hit driver, but it doesn't matter. I'm gonna stay true to myself. I'm gonna hit this 5-iron. Now, there's no guarantee I hit this 5-iron great, but a bad shot with the 5-iron, I assure you, is probably gonna be better than a bad shot with your driver. All right, so we're gonna go. Let's play a hole here. Let's play a hole here together, and let's talk through it and think through it. Again, I got my 5-iron here. I essentially try to hit this good to the point where if I hit it good, have about 220 yards. I hit about 220 and have 130 into the screen. All right, now let's pull it a little bit left. Not much, but that may be in the left rough. It could catch the left side of the fairway. We might be in the fairway there. Let's see here, I hit that. I carried it 220. The total distance was 230. And I got 130 in, about 130 into the pen because I pulled it a little bit left, but that's exactly the number that we wanted. We wanted 130 into this pen location here. Okay? So, again, we took the bunker out of play. This bunker right here, we're short of because we hit the perfect club. I didn't hit that awesome. I hit it a little bit off the toe, went a little bit left. But again, a bad shot with that is going to be way better than a bad shot with my driver. So automatically, instead of having 70 yards in, 60 yards in, 50 yards in, a shot that can be tough to hit for most golfers, now I have a full wedge. Okay, so now I can hit a full gap wedge in here, okay, into this hole. see here if I can find my gap wedge. Where are you? There you are. Okay, now I have a full gap wedge into this green. Now let's talk about this shot here. We have 131 yards. We are 11 feet downhill. Obviously, we need to take that into play. When we're going downhill, the ball's going to go a little bit further. Also, this pin is on the back of the green. This is so crucial for a lot of golfers out there because most people, don't get me wrong, I love rangefinders and I use one. I use it with my SwingU app and I think they work well together. And I think every golfer needs to be using a rangefinder and the SwingU app, or at least the SwingU app. But here's my issue with rangefinders. And the PGA Championship this year allowed rangefinders, but we still saw so many caddies and tour pros go to their yardage books and go to their sprinkler heads and look at their normal distances, not just shoot the pin. Why is that? Because every tour pro wants to know front, middle, and back numbers. They don't want to just know what the pin is. Okay, why is that? Okay, if I have a back pin location here and I shoot it with my rangefinder, okay, I got 130 to the pin, but me not knowing it's back, what can't we do to a back pin? Where can our ball not finish on a back pin, especially with fast greens and firm greens? Our ball cannot finish long. We can't have our ball go over this green here. Why is it? Because we short side ourselves. A back pin location, if I hit it long, I'm not going to have enough green to work with, especially in firm and fast conditions, to get this up and down. So my miss here needs to be short. Okay, we have 131 down the hill, but if I tap on the screen just like we can do, okay, just like we can do on our SwingU app, 125 center, a little downhill. So I need to hit this ball no more than 125 yards. It's the same happens to a front pin. I see so many people that shoot the flag on the front pin and they say, okay, you know, it's a front pin, and then they don't quite hit it well enough, the club well enough, and they come up short, and now they're short-sided to a front pin. Okay, so that's why it's so important to be using the SwingU app to not only have your yardage to your pin, but you also know front, middle, back. If I'm playing to a front pin, especially if there's bunkers up front, I might want to hit more of a middle, to the middle yardage, okay? And give myself 15 feet, 10 feet putting back to that front pin. Obviously, it's going to really vary depending on if you have a back to front sloping green. Obviously, ideally, you want to leave your ball below the hole, especially if you're playing in firm and fast conditions, like we were playing at Burlington yesterday and the day before. It was very important to leave your ball below the hole, and that's another thing that we'll talk about today. But I really want to just specify is I don't want you guys coming up here in the fairway, grabbing a rangefinder, shooting this pin, and then grabbing a club, because if this back pin is in between clubs and you may go one more, if you air mail this green, it's going to be no good. Okay? So that's something to think about. Make sure you're getting your front, middle, back numbers. A back pin, your miss needs to be middle of the green. A front pin, your miss needs to be middle of the green. We can't miss a front pin short, and we can't miss a back pin long. The other thing I want to kind of mention here, of course, strategy here is the same thing, really. A left pin and right pin. I don't want you guys, obviously, there's sometimes you can get aggressive, but if you have a longer club in, I mean, from 130 yards, we have wedge, we can get a little more aggressive, but especially if we have like 150, 160, 170, and this pin is tucked all the way to the left, obviously our aiming point does not need to be at the pin on the left. Again, we don't want to short side ourselves. A left pin, our miss needs to be right. A right pin, our miss needs to be left. We cannot short side ourselves, guys, okay? So that's so crucial. I know we've been talking pretty fast here, but I hope you guys are kind of getting some of this, and I hope it's kind of registering to you guys, because I think course management is something that I am passionate about, that I love to talk about. So let's hit the shot here. 131 yards, downhill. We just talked about how we cannot hit this more than 120, 125 shot here, okay? Now this pin is slightly on the right side, so we are going to aim just left of it. We got a new wedge here in my hand, new 50-degree wedge that I haven't hit yet, especially in here. I just got this last night. So this should be a nice smooth 120 shot. If I'm just short of this hole location, I'm okay with that. Just left of the pin. Okay, pretty good little shot. I mean, that's exactly where I aimed. Okay, I hit that shot 120 carry, and it went to 128. We had 131 into the flag, so I was 3 feet short. Okay, I was 3 feet short of it, which is kind of exactly where we wanted it. 9 feet short of the hole. We totally took going long out of the equation. And listen, what we did there is on a 354-yard hole that I could not drive, and I'm not good at, let's just say you guys watching at home, you're not good at 50, 60, 70-yard shots, then don't hit your driver. Another thing is, if you're struggling with hitting your driver, it doesn't matter how long the hole is. If you can't hit your driver, don't hit it, okay? Even if you have to if you're absolutely diabolical with your driver that day, it's absolutely horrible, or maybe in general, you stink at hitting your driver. Yes, just something you should work on and improve and get with your coach and get better. But until then, don't hit the driver. Play the smart club, okay? Because what we did there was we just hit 5-iron, and then we had wedge in our hand, and then we were able to hit it to 20 feet and give ourselves a look at birdie here. And we played that hole so smart. Now, I don't know what hole is next, but let's just go to the next hole and we'll take a look at it together. And we'll see if we can kind of manage our way through this next hole. Oh my goodness, this is 164 yards, so 165 yards, but it's 44 feet downhill. This will be a good test in here to see if we can kind of think our way through this. Now let's talk about the pin. We have another kind of middle to back pinish, okay? But yes, we have 168 yards, but 44 feet downhill. So 168 for me in here, or 164 in here is going to be my 9-iron. Because it's downhill, okay, it's going to play, so 44 feet downhill. So that's going to play probably 2 clubs less. We're talking about probably a smooth pitching wedge at that point. But let's talk about where our misses can't be. Obviously 2 bunkers here in this short. I'm a pretty decent bunker player, so for me, if I leave it in the bunker, I'm not that upset. But if you're somebody who's terrible out of bunkers here, your miss is going to be long here because this pin is not all the way back. It is more middle-ish, so we can kind of get away with that. So if I'm picking this club selection here, I'm picking a club to that pin, especially if you're somebody who is not good at hitting out of bunkers. All right, so again, we're playing to our strengths. If I'm somebody who is okay with getting out of bunkers, I have a good chance of getting it up and down. I don't mind leaving this a little bit short because I'll have more green to work with and I'll hit in the bunker, especially if I'm playing a game where we're playing some junk, maybe some sandies. It's not the end of the world for me. So 164 down the hill. In the simulator here, it's going to be kind of hard to judge. I can't even see where the pin is, to be honest. This thing drops straight off. If you guys have known, if you guys played Torrey Pine South Course, I've never played it before. But obviously, really great golf course. 164, way down the hill. We're going to hit a 140-yard shot. Let's see what it gives us. That was not hit well at all. So it was a little in between clubs there. Definitely hit it a little heavy, but for me, leaving it short is not the end of the world. Okay, we hit that 133 yards. It's a little bit heavy, but we left ourselves a pretty half-decent chip. Okay, because long of this green is completely dead. It runs off the back. But we left ourselves in a good spot. And for me, we talked about this before I hit the shot. I don't mind leaving this shot short because I know I have a decent sand game. Obviously, here in the simulators, it doesn't really matter. But even out in the course, I know that I can get this shot up and down. Okay, this is a pretty straightforward shot for me up here, 32 yards. Another thing we hear with these chip shots, out on the course, I want you guys to really be focusing on the wind. If you're playing at a windy golf course, and the break. Okay, so many people fail to understand that when they're chipping the golf ball, you need to have some sort of idea of where this ball is going to roll when it gets on the green. Okay, because a lot of people, obviously I don't want you looking at it like a putt and spending a ton of time, but it's worth walking up, taking a look at the green, saying, okay, once this gets on the green, it's going to go real right to left or left to right or whatever it may be. Just so we have some sort of idea. That way we can kind of account for it if we don't hit perfect speed or whatever it is. At least we have the line correctly and we can get this ball as close as possible. I want you guys to really take away tonight to think your way around the golf course. Okay, really think about your club selection. Don't get lazy there, okay? Really, really take into mind, and is this the right club? Okay, because so many times I see golfers struggle and lose strokes because they don't take the correct club out of the bag. Okay, if you're somebody who doesn't like to swing really hard at the ball, okay, maybe it's smarter to take more club. If you're somebody who doesn't like to, swing a little bit easier, take a little less and swing a little bit harder at it, okay? So just play to your strengths, but really think through each shot. I know there can be so many distractions when we're playing golf. The cart girl comes by, our buddies are talking and getting loud. Maybe they're, out of the hole and they don't care. But for that minute or that 30 seconds before you hit your shot, I want you to focus in and lock and try to think your way around the golf course. Okay, so that's so important, especially when you're chipping, you're pitching from off the green. Take a look at the green real quick. See if it runs away from you. See if it goes a little right to left. Obviously, in here in the simulators, it's really hard to tell. I have no idea really what the screen does. But for me, from what it looks like it goes a little right to left. For me, in here. So let's try to hit this a little bit to the right and see if it goes back to the left. Yep, it definitely kicked a little left. Stopped a little short for me. Not much release there, but not bad. 10, 11 feet to the hole. So we have our 10-footer for par. We have a makeable putt on a really tough par 3 that's tough to judge. But we really thought our way around this hole. And that's really what I want you guys to get out of tonight. Okay? Play to your strengths. I don't care if you have to hit 5-iron off the tee box. If it's going to leave you a perfect yardage into the green, then do it. Especially when you're playing on holes that maybe have out of bounds somewhere. If you have a hole that's out of bounds right and you've been losing your driver right all day, okay, it may be smart to play a safer club. Talking about par 5s here, we're talking about laying up. If you have a par 5 that has, that maybe you can reach if you hit your 3-wood perfectly, but there's water up by the green or there's some trees right or trees left, it might be smarter to hit the layup. I know you guys don't want to hear that. Nobody wants to hear the layup. I know it is. Layups are for basketball. We get that a lot. And listen, I'm the type of guy who doesn't, and if you're having fun with your friends and you really don't care about your score, then so be it. Just go ahead and go for it. Hit the 3-wood off the deck. Try to reach the green. But if you really are trying to score, if you really want to be cautious of your scores and eliminate those big numbers, because I think that's one thing that really a lot of golfers struggle with, is those blow-up holes, is those big numbers. So if we can eliminate them, then great. What that means is playing the safe shot off the tee, playing the safe shot into par 5s. If you do hit a bad shot into the trees, chip out. Yesterday, on my 17th hole, I hit my drive, I hit the iron off the tee, just maybe 5 yards off the fairway, and there happened to be one tree there. My ball was right directly behind the tree. I had no real shot other than the one thing I could do is try to punch down and stop my club, or else I would have hit my hands on the tree, and I would have had to hit a huge hook right to left, and there was out of bounds right. And I was sitting there thinking, because I always like to go for the hero shot. I'm sitting over at my ball, and I'm like, you know what, I really should do this. But I could break my club, I could break my wrist, my ball could ricochet off the tree, go out of bounds. I could really make an 8 or 9 here if I'm not smart. So I had to really, what I did, it hurt me, it really hurt me to do this, but I grabbed my wedge out of my bag and I chipped out directly sideways into the fairway. Then I hit it on the green to about 20 feet and just missed the putt for par, and I got out of there with my bogey. Yes, I made my bogey, but sometimes we have to take our medicine, okay? Sometimes we have to do that, and it really, really hurts us. So in a minute here, guys, we're gonna open this up to a Q&A. So if you have any questions, drop your questions below, okay? And we're gonna answer any questions that you guys have on course management. I hope you guys kind of learned something here tonight. I know we kind of were beating a lot of things down to the ground, especially being smart off the tee. I really thought about this course management from my 2 tournament rounds that I played on Saturday and Sunday, yesterday and the day before, because it was a course that you had to think your way around. If you got into the rough, you could not find your ball unless you were basically standing on top of it. So it really made a premium for hitting fairways. So if you guys have any questions, leave them, drop them in the comment section below right now, and I'm going to answer any questions that you guys have. Yeah. So someone talked about, cutting corners and hitting driver. Is it too much of a gamble to cut corners and hit drivers? Well, here's what I would say. It really depends on the hole that you're on. Obviously, if there's a dogleg right, you can hit a cut over the trees, you feel fairly confident, then hit it. Here's the things that I would take into account. If I try to go for the green and I try to cut the corner, number one, is it worth it? Am I that much more likely to make birdie? Because the odds of me actually hitting the green off the tee on a short par 4 are probably not very good. How's my short game? Is my short game not really good? Is there a lot of bunkers around it? Do I suck out of bunkers? Is going for this green and hitting a bunker, do I have a better than 50% chance of getting it up and down for the bunker? No, probably not. Do I have a decent chance of hitting a good wedge shot from 100 yards out in the fairway? Probably, especially your odds of hitting the ball from the tee to the fairway with a 5 or 6 iron, or let's say, how many times are you hitting the fairway with a 5 or 6 iron off the tee? Probably more than 80% of the time because the fairway's really wide. How many times are you hitting the green off the tee? Maybe 5% of the time. If I gave you 20 balls, you're probably going to only hit 1 on. The other balls that you hit on, that you hit near the green, if you don't have a great short game, you're probably not getting it up and down. So if you're playing the same course over and over again, maybe taking it into account. Say you played it 20 times. Go for it 10 times and lay up 10 times. Mark down your score on each of those times. I think that's really great, especially here at Lake City Country Club. We have a couple drivable par 4s, and I see a lot of members play it safe, especially on 14 here. It's about 295, and a lot of them will actually lay up because the green is a certain way to where if you do go for it, it actually penalizes you if you bail out and you go for it long enough because you're in a trap with a green that runs away from you. So it's actually smarter to have a 130-yard shot at. But here's what I would tell you guys. When you're at home and you do have those dog legs or you do have those risk-reward holes, play it 20 times and go for it 10 times, lay up 10 times. Mark down your score each time and mark next to it. Keep a little note section in your phone or whatever it may be. Hey, I went for it today and I made bogey. Or hey, I laid up and I made birdie. Whatever it may be. And take a look at your scores and determine whether it's smart to go for it or smart to lay up. I think that's so awesome. I think that's so crucial, especially if you're a member at a course and you're playing it over and over again. I think that's something that everybody should be doing, and that way you can weigh your risk, especially if it's a tournament round or if you're playing with your friends. If you're playing with your friends and you're having fun and you don't care if your handicap goes up, whatever. If it's a tournament round where there's a lot more pressure, there's a lot more at stake, then it might be a good idea to start playing on more safe. So I think when it comes to your question with cutting corners, obviously it's going to depend on the hole, depend on the type of player you are, but weigh your risk reward, take a little sample size, and see what's best for you. See if we have any more questions here. Okay, so here the question. That's a great question. What's the best way to utilize a draw or a cut into a left pin or a right pin? I talk about this all the time. Obviously, if you have a left pin location, the ideal ball flight for a right-handed golfer would be to draw it into that left-handed or that left pin location so you can kind of start landing it more center of the green and that ball can kick towards the hole. Obviously, if you have a right hole location for a right-handed golfer, a cut would be the preferable ball flight into that hole. But I do not like when golfers, especially amateurs and golfers that aren't that great at that maybe are 15, 20 handicaps, start trying to flight balls into pins. Because let's face it here, most tour players play one flight regardless. Okay, there are some tour players that do like to work it both ways, but for the most part, these golfers will play their one flight every time. So my suggestion to most golfers are not to try to draw it into a left pin location and fade it into a right pin location. I want you to have more like one ball flight that you go to every single time that you know that's going to be there and work it. So if you do have a little bit of a draw, obviously that left pin location is going to be just fine for you. You can try to start it, land it in the center, and have it roll towards the left hole location. If you have a right hole location and you have a draw, yes, it's going to be a lot harder for you. But for me, I'm going to hit my draw into that right hole location. I'm going to start it at the pin. If it draws to the center of the green, that's fine. Okay, not the ideal pin location for me. I gave myself a 20, 25 footer for birdie. If I make it, great. If I overdraw it, but guess what? I'm chipping with a lot of green to work with. If I don't draw it enough to that right pin location, and it starts on my line and doesn't draw, guess what? I might end up, pretty close to that pin. Okay, so if I'm hitting a draw to a right pin location as a right-handed golfer, I'm not getting greedy. I'm not trying to get this ball close. I'm trying to give myself a 20, 25 footer for birdie and walk out of there with par. If it's a left hole location and I'm hitting a draw, then beautiful. Then we can get a little more aggressive and try to land this ball more in the center and have it kind of kick and roll to the left. Same thing goes with a right-handed golfer who hits a fade. To a right hole location, that's where you're gonna make your hay. That's where you can start at the center of the green and have it fade in. To a left hole location, that's when you take your medicine a little bit more, okay? Playing a little more conservatively and try to make pars. So if you're not that great of a golfer, and for me, I don't even try to do that, as a scratch golfer who plays tournament golf. I'm not trying to change my ball flight unless I have to curve it around a tree. Okay, I'm taking my medicine. If it's not an ideal pin location for me, I'm getting my par and I'm getting out of there. See if there's any other questions. I'm not seeing any more questions, guys. I think this is a great talk. We talked for 30 minutes on course management. If you have any more questions, wait, one may have rolled in here. What club shot do you use to drive off the hole with heavy tree line on the right? Sorry, that disappeared. For a right-handed player with a draw. Okay, yeah, I mean, so he's saying the tree line's on the right, and he's playing a draw. So what club selection? I mean, obviously it just comes down, it's hard for me to say how much of a draw you're hitting or how long the hole is, okay? But here's the one thing I would say to you. If you're hitting a draw, you need to be standing on the leftmost part of the tee box as you possibly can. So the one tip I would give you is stand as far left for a right-handed golfer hitting a draw as you possibly can. Because now you're going to give yourself more room to start this ball to the right and have it draw. If you're hitting a fade, start on the rightmost part of the tee box as you possibly can. Because now you have a lot more room, okay, to start this ball left and fade it back to the right. Okay, I think that's a simple tip that I think is really going to help you. All right, guys. We're through our time here. Thank you so much for joining us here. My name is Josh Kelly. You can check my YouTube channel out, Josh Kelly Golf, for more instruction. And you can also check me out at Hole in Trick Shots on Instagram. And I'm going to be here every single week with you guys, kind of taking you through SwingU Live. So thanks so much for joining us here tonight. And we're hoping to see you guys back here next week for another SwingU Live. Everyone have a great week. Enjoy yourselves. Play good golf.